Let me read this. This is amazing. I'm going to read this so you don't have to go buy the magazine. Because I think the only reason why they did this is like, well, we tried everything else. Why don't we try being against the president for a second, see if he buys a stupid magazine?
Well, because remember, this is the same magazine whose editor said this.
I mean, in a way, Obama's standing above the country, above the world. He's sort of God. He's
That's Newsweek editor.
Yeah, the front page, the cover of Newsweek is the one that made him the first gay president. We're all socialists now.
Didn't they do the Halo?
They've done Halo. Done several Halos. Okay. So Neil Ferguson writes, I was a good loser 4 years ago. In the grand scheme of history, I wrote a day after Barack Obama's election as president. 4 decades is not an especially long time. Yet in this brief period, America has gone from assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. to Barack Obama. You may not be human if you fail to acknowledge this as a cause for great rejoicing. That's what he wrote. Despite having been, full disclosure, an advisor to John McCain, I acknowledged his opponent's remarkable qualities. His soaring oratory, his cool, hard-to-ruffle temperament, and his nearly faultless campaign organization. Yet but do you feel that even close to that now? I mean, I just see them just breaking down over and over and over again now. The question confronting the country nearly 4 years later is not who was the better candidate 4 years ago. It's whether the winner has delivered on his promises, and the sad truth is he has not. In his inaugural address, Obama promised not only to create new jobs, but to lay a foundation for growth. He promised to build roads and bridges and electric grids, and the digital lines that feed our commerce and bind us together. He promised to restore science to its rightful place and wield technology's wonders to raise healthcare's quality and lower the cost. He promised to transform our schools and colleges and universities to meet the demands of a new age. Unfortunately, a president's scorecard on every single one of those bold pledges is pitiful. In an unguarded moment earlier this year, the president commented the private sector of the economy was doing fine. Certainly the stock market is well, up by 74% relative to the close on Inauguration Day 2009. But the total number of private sector jobs is still 4.3 million below January 2008. Meanwhile, a staggering 3.6 million Americans have been added to the Social Security Disability Insurance Program. One of the many ways unemployment is being concealed. In his fiscal year 2010 budget he first presented, the president envisioned a growth of 3.2%, 4 in 2011, 4.6 in 2012. The actual numbers are 2.4% in 2010, 1.8% in 2011, and few forecasters expect it now to be much higher than 2.3 this year. Unemployment was supposed to be 6% by now. It has averaged 8.2% this year so far. Meanwhile, real median income household income has dropped more than 5% since June 2009. Think of that. Real median income has dropped 5%. Nearly 110 million Americans receive welfare benefits in 2011. Wow. Welcome to Obama's America. Nearly half the population is not represented on a taxable return. Almost exactly the same proportion that lives in a household where at least one member receives some sort of government benefit. We are becoming the 50-50 nation, half paying the taxes, the other half receiving the benefits. All this despite a far bigger hike in the federal debt than we were promised. According to the 2010 budget, the debt in public hands was supposed to fall in relation to GDP from 67% in 2010 to less than 66% this year. If only. By the end of the year, according to the CBO, it will reach 70% of GDP. These figures significantly understate the debt problem, however. The ratio that matters is debt to revenue. That number has leapt upward from 165% in 2008 to 262% this year. Only Ireland and Spain have seen a bigger deterioration. Not only did the initial fiscal stimulus fade after the sugar rush of 2009, But the president has done nothing to close the long-term gap between spending and revenue. This is terrifying, this next part. His much-vaunted health care reform will not prevent spending on health programs from growing more than 5% of GDP today to 10%. Add the projected increase of the cost of Social Security, and you're looking at a total bill of 16% of the GDP 25 years from now. That's slightly less than the average cost of all federal programs and activities. What do you think? Our debt is on course to approach 200% by 2037. A mountain of debt that is bound to reduce growth even further. Even the figure underestimates the real debt burden. The most recent estimate for the difference between the net present value of federal government liabilities and the net present value of future federal revenues, the fiscal gap, is real number $222 trillion. The value of government liabilities against the value of future federal revenues. The gap is $222 trillion. How are we? How are you going to make that? How are you going to make that up? He goes on with all the charts and graphs and everything else. That's the cover of Newsweek. Now, how's this president going to survive this? Not Newsweek. Nobody reads Newsweek. But, I mean, really, what happens? What happens in the next... See, this is, to me, the interesting thing. We have such a choice in front of us. We have a choice that is no less significant than the choice that America faced at the Civil War. Because we are a nation that is cut in half. We're a nation that is divided on direction. Am I going to take the handouts, or am I going to do it on my own? Do you want a big, huge federal government? New Washington Post survey says no. It's, what is it, Stu? 65% say they don't want a big, bloated federal government, that we already have too much regulation. The number is staggering. But you don't see that represented anywhere, except, I think, for Romney. Romney and Ryan are really starting to make some headway. Do you know, by the way, who is in charge of Romney's judges' picks? Do you know who he's putting in charge of that? You'll love this. Jay Sekulow.
Oh, the guy from, what is it, ACLJ? Yeah.
If that guy is in charge of the picks for the next Supreme Court, that's really good. That's a really good sign. We have to make sure that we don't blur the line between our choices, because it is still pretty stark. Romney's not the guy I would have picked, but Romney may be the guy in the end to get it done. And they have huge differences between them. Just the difference between Supreme Court picks, the differences between, do you believe that the individual built it or not? I mean, here's where you have to ask the president. You say you don't believe in that the average American built their own business. So if they didn't build their own business, then they need to pay more, because what built it were the federal roads, the government's roads, the highway system. Can somebody in the audience do a calculation of the percentage of highways that are currently under construction because of the Barack Obama stimulus package, under construction or repair, and then take that percentage and apply it to the number of deaths on the highway? Because Barack Obama built those roads. Isn't he responsible for all those deaths because of the stimulus? Certainly more than Mitt Romney is responsible for people who died 7 years after his employ.
Yeah, at least he's still in office.
And we know that Barack Obama is responsible for those highways because he said it, and his name is on the project. He's responsible for all those highway deaths. Do those outnumber the businesses that were allowed to keep their doors open because those highways were built right there, those streets were fixed, those potholes were covered? Oh, I don't know, Mr. President. I'd hate to think somebody in the Oval Office sees business over the life and death of mothers and fathers and children. Oh, my gosh. Here I was worried about doctors cutting off the feet of people. Little did I know you were building a roadway just to kill people. Whew. The decision between the two is pretty easy, unless you get your news from Entertainment Tonight, which the president recognizes a lot of people do. And that's why he's targeting them. He's running out of stupid people.